It's a history of adversity and of solid accomplishment. Bethlehem has built, and we have served our people, our country, and the world in peace and in war. Steel is basic to our society and essential to our national security. That's why at Bethlehem Steel, our daily work is indeed more than a livelihood.
Up here, all you do is just push the button and everything, and you got your weight. And this is the new thing that's going to be in the future. So that's the biggest reason why I came over here to the oil furnace. My father was here at Bethlehem Steel. He worked here for 49 years and 3 months. His daddy before him worked here for 60 years. My other brother has been here 35 years. I've been here going on 31 years. I got some cousins too. This is paradise. To me it is.
My grandfather is pensioned from the steel, and my mother works for towers.
My dad's very grateful. I mean, he says he was one of the fortunate ones that being in this country, because you know he came over from Mexico. He was very proud.
When I sleep, I dream, and the chap make a signal for the gunman. Up, down, I dream.
I've been here since 1967, and I'm a tower crane operator. My grandfather were crane operators. I just found out that my great-grandfather had got my grandfather's job here.
5 generations. My great-grandfather started here back in about 1870. My grandfather started working here, became superintendent. My father worked here as a machinist. I came here. My both boys both work here, down in the Saucon plant.
Bethlehem Steel began as a small company making iron rails in eastern Pennsylvania. John Fritz built these works in the 1860s. 20 years later, they were turning out heavy forgings, guns, and armor plate. Frederick Taylor and Monsell White developed high-speed tool steels here. As the 20th century began, America was moving and building and growing. Immigrants from all over Europe came to work in the Lehigh Valley, and Charlie Schwab came here too, to form the corporation known as Bethlehem Steel.
I was there before Charlie Schwab. It was the Bethlehem Iron Company then, and I think the U.S. Shipbuilding Company took over the Bethlehem Steel. They bought it, if my memory serves me right. Now, that's going back pretty hard, I'm digging. And then Charlie Schwab come in and took over and bought from the U.S. Shipbuilding Company on the transfer, and then it was the Bethlehem Steel Corporation, see, after that. I shook hands with Charlie Schwab as a foreman. Yeah, I remember him. Then I was a little foreman, see.
Charlie Schwab came with a couple of boxes of cigars and handed cigars to the people. I was the youngest one. He handed to me cigar. I says, Mr. Charlie Schwab, I don't smoke.
Schwab was a gambler, a salesman, and a visionary. He saw a bright future in structural steel. Henry Gray had an idea for a new mill that would roll steel beams lighter and stronger than the old kind. But nobody in this country wanted to risk building Gray's mill, except Charlie Schwab. If we're going bust, he said, we'll go bust big. He built the mill, put Gene Grace in charge, and set off to New York to sell his new product. Gimbel's department store was the first major building to use the Bethlehem beam. 12,000 tons at $32 a ton. Orders began to roll in and steel rolled out. The wide flange beam became Bethlehem's trademark and Jean Grace became Bethlehem's president. The whole country benefited from the lower cost of building. As war clouds gathered over Europe, more and more orders flowed in for ships, guns, and munitions. When the doughboys left, women took their places in the shell plants.
During the war, we were making shells. We had little shells, little bigger shells, and we had them, we had tremendous. To this day, I was telling my great-grandchildren and grandchildren, and I have pictures of me, you know, we had these overalls, and I was showing them. I said, see, this is what Grandma used to have. But we enjoyed every minute. We really did.
In a burst of expansion, Bethlehem acquired plants at Lebanon, Steelton, and Sparrows Point. Throughout the 20s, Bethlehem grew. Lackawanna Steel with a plant on Lake Erie, Johnstown plant and the coal mines of Midvale and Cambria Steel, Pacific Coast Steel with plants in Los Angeles and Seattle. Bessie Steel was the darling of Wall Street.
Well, I went to work at Sparrows Point in 1919. After I came back from France after World War I went to work on the ore dock as an oiler. I got 37 cents an hour.
So we didn't know anything about it. Vacation. We worked 7 days a week. I used to go to work Sunday morning, come home Monday morning, and on day turn, we would work 11 hours, and on the night shift, 13 hours. So there was a lot of hours.
Well, during the Depression, there was very, very few people working, and grass was growing all over the place. They only run a blast furnace a few hours, just enough to get some gas to feed the different mills. And very, very little work. It was actually very brutal in those days because there was very few men working.
In the Depression time, it was, I know, I worked by 1 or 2 days, 6 hours a day that time.
We got paid in solid gold. Now, all the banks were closed up. I don't know where Bethlehem Steel got the money, but we got paid just the same.
It was like a ghost town around there, pretty dark some places. But the blast furnace, I never was laid off. I got cut back to 3 days a week, 6 hours, but never unemployed. And used to get home with my wife and 4 children. Very small pay. Sometimes it's $10, $11 every 2 weeks, getting paid every 2 weeks then. But thanks the Lord, we made it.
In 1939, Europe was again plunged into war. The most pressing need was for ships.
We are now well along in our war program of 1,000 ships for the Navy and Merchant Marine. A year ago, I pledged that Bethlehem would build a ship of day of major size for every day in the year. I don't mind saying that there were times when I was doubtful of reaching that goal. But we have made good on that pledge with several ships to spare. War needs ships. The United States production of ships has been a prime factor in turning the tide to victory. There is no other navy afloat that ship for ship, man for man, gun for gun, can equal the United States fleet. And we are proud to have had a major part in the building of this magnificent fighting force.
When the war ended, steelmakers found no rest. There was a world to rebuild. After 15 years of depression and war, America was in a buying mood. Growth and expansion characterized the 1950s. Oxygen was lanced into open hearth furnaces, and the Bessemers blew their last heats. Raw materials became a pressing need. The great iron ranges of high-grade ore were nearly gone. We looked for ore in Canada, in Africa, in South America, and we looked for ways to concentrate low-grade ores like taconite. We looked for new coal properties in West Virginia and Kentucky.
My father was a coal miner, I think, for around 40 years for old Consolidation Coal Company, which owned this company before Bethlehem bought it. We coal miners, we don't know steel, like you say. We don't know how to make steel or anything like that. We just know coal. And I'm sure those that's in a steel mill, that's all they know to do is just, make steel. But everybody's got a job, and everybody has to like their job, to enjoy it and all that. And that's what makes the thing go.
In 1959, a strike stopped the steel industry for 116 days. When the mills began to roll again, Bethlehem was moving in new directions. Homer Research Laboratories pointed the way.
Research has been going on at Bethlehem Steel for a long time, but it has been going on at scattered locations. Now we have collected most of our research activities and placed them here atop South Mountain. In these laboratories and in other research facilities, the future of steel is taking shape. Out of these broad research programs will emerge new steels with greater durability and wider applications.
When we came up to Homer Research, you branched out. You did a little bit of this, a little bit of that on different machines, which was, like I say, it was more of a learning process again once we came up to Homer Labs in 1961. When I came to the Homer Labs, I was scared. But like I said, when I first walked in this building, I didn't know what to expect.
December 3rd, 1962. Art Homer addresses Bethlehem's management group.
The program we plan to proceed with over the next 3 years is the largest we have ever undertaken, and will involve an expenditure of approximately $750 million. The largest single item in this capital expenditure program covers a project on which we have been working for some time. It is my great pleasure to announce, and you are the first to hear it, that we are going to build major steel plant finishing facilities at Burns Harbor in Indiana, located on Lake Michigan.
and only 30 miles from Chicago. It will be named the Barnes Harbor Plant. Construction will begin immediately, and this first step will form the nucleus of what we hope will someday be a fully integrated steel plant and possibly our largest steel plant.
Building the Burns Harbor plant and having to start off with practically no operating problems with all the machinery was the most satisfying thing. We had a debate as to whether we'd go out on the West Coast or go to Chicago, and we went to Chicago because it was the biggest steel market. And Bethlehem had always wanted to get there. They'd lost twice the merger with Youngstown, which was going to get them there, and Bethlehem's better off if that didn't go through, because we've got the best plant in the world now, whereas if we'd...
Progress over the past 75 years hasn't always been smooth. Yards that launched 1,000 ships have been sold. The dream of a new plant on San Francisco Bay has evaporated, and the fabricating shops that raised these magnificent structures are gone. We've contended with floods and blizzards and steel from abroad, and more, government policies have affected our business.
I would come home from Washington time after time, completely frustrated. The only thing to do is go down there and get as much exposure as you can, hoping that you can do an educating job and that some of it will rub off and stick. In the old days, I can remember Mr. Grace was quoted as saying that the only way they'd ever get him to Washington was with a subpoena. Well, in the changing years, an attitude like that would have closed a business organization down.
Oh, the main thing is the building up. Main thing I don't see since I've been here is building up now. If you was here 10 years ago and left Sparrows Point and went uptown just to come back down here for a ride, you get lost. They build up, so it's a great improvement. You can see that. You can see, nobody see that from the road when you just look on that bridge there when you get to the top of it and see the big L furnace.
I think that the most striking changes in the steel industry have been the technological developments that have taken place. And then secondly, the public awareness facing up to industry's role as a good citizen in all kinds of ways. And Bethlehem and the steel industry has done an excellent job in both of those areas. Technologically, we're as advanced as any industry, any steel industry in the world. And I think with respect to public responsibility, we're more advanced than most steel industries in the rest of the world.
Lewis Wilson Ford.
Technology is today's buzzword in steel. It goes by many names: Hibbing, the Blue Goose, L Furnace, the BOF, Continuous Caster, Burns Harbor Plate Mill Complex, the Combination Mill, the 13-inch bar mill, drill rigs, VLCCs, the Lewis Wilson Ford.
You can buy any piece of equipment to do a job if you want to pay the price for it. But none of that equipment would produce $1 for Bethlehem if it weren't for the people. It's people that make everything go. And so that the whole secret of success of any corporation is its people. They're the most important assets you have. You can spend all the money in the world for machinery and equipment and so forth. But if you don't have the people to run it, to manage it, to get the full utilization out of it, you won't be successful.
So I think we're pretty important.
Well, just like I said, it's a challenge to even come in here. To me, 'cause I like challenges.
Oh, I'm proud I work for the Bethlehem Steel Company.
My son wants to work here, that's fine.
I just highly recommend working for Bethlehem because to me there's no other place.
Our daily work, as Jean Grace once said, is more than a livelihood. It is a constant challenge, an opportunity to serve, to build.